Guy, here we are, man. What do you make all this?
So yeah, it's interesting. I think in the middle of October, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which I know we don't talk about,
Why
but
are
it
you
makes
talking
it a
about the
little
Dow?
easier.
Yeah,
No, because
come
I
on.
think a lot of people focus on it. It went from peak
They
to
do.
trough. It went down about 3,000 points. So let's just call it 10% for the sake of calling it 10%. And over the last I don't know, three trading days or so, the market's up now basically half of that. So it's
By the
gotten
way,
half of it back.
we did that almost twice.
Yeah.
We had I've mentioned this here on commercial break. We had the 10% pullback in September. We rallied 10%, and then we had another 10% pullback through kind of late last week, and now we're 5% off the bottom.
Right.
So
Right.
all right.
It's insane, but it got me thinking. So Pulp Fiction was a very entertaining movie. I think you've seen it. I think you'll agree that it's entertaining. But then you get all the people that want to try to explain to you what Pulp Fiction, what's going on, and what this means and what that means.
Yeah.
And the reality is maybe it's just an entertaining movie. And so I think my point is a lot of people are trying to explain. It was last week the market pricing in a Joe Biden victory, and the last couple of days is that flipped. And maybe the market doesn't know either. Maybe the market's as confused as I was watching Pulp Fiction, but I'm mature enough to say that I didn't know what the hell was going on in Pulp Fiction, and I don't know what the hell's going on now.
Well, the soundtrack for Pulp Fiction I thought was extraordinary, and it was one of those soundtracks that propelled movie soundtracks, especially in the 90s, to have almost a bigger role than the movie did. Quentin Tarantino, sorry, man, seller. I'm selling him
Sold
to you.
No,
I sold him to you because look, the random, let's cut off an arm here. Reservoir Dogs, I get it. But okay, so the question is, should we be laughing when they bring out the GIMP, right? And yet we were made to believe that we were supposed to find that fascinating. I think what's fascinating is that the market doesn't know whether this is an artsy, horror movie, or whether it's actually kind of that subliminal happy ending movie where you keep waiting for something awful to happen. And when I look at the market's done over the last 3 days, or even the couple days, like the last 2 days, we're gonna close about 3.5% up in the S&P, or we'll take your Dow, going into an election that the VIX is still in the mid 30s, and the anxiety around the event, understandably based upon 2016. But I think the market doesn't know what to do with the prospect of a blue wave versus the prospect of status quo versus the prospect of something up the middle. The market is looking at the polls. The market is rallying on the concept of a blue wave is good news for stocks. We're not talking politics, guy. I don't want to know your politics. I don't want to know your sex life. I don't know about your religion. I want to know about your view on the markets. And sorry, I'm sure all those things are wonderful for you. But I think it's a case where you've got a market that seemingly is looking at the political polls, is concerned about 2016, but is rallying on the concept that you actually have a massive fiscal stimulus package on the other side, that you have a more conciliatory tone to geopolitical, at least trade, and that you have a concept where you're going to at least take a more balanced approach even to some of the issues around big cap tech. I think the market really should want Biden in the White House and a GOP Senate, because that's going to stop the market from falling on its face when you think about the blue wave, which is going to bring higher corporate taxes, higher capital gains taxes, and a lot more regulation, which to me could have the market down substantially even before December 1. So I think, Tarantino or, the Geico horror movie commercial, I don't know what we got here, but why didn't those kids get into that running car? and decide to.
Because that's a genius commercial. They run into the barn with 100 chainsaws hanging from it, all running, by the way.
And I love
which
the
is
Jason
remarkable.
kind of. It's the Jason lookalike guy who really has a very interesting face, right? He's got a very long, angular. He looks. He
completely deadpanned it. He's like,
yeah.
It's really, that's one of the better. See, I look at this and say, and I'm not suggesting you're doing this, but if you watch TV, if you watch any of the networks, everybody's trying to explain what's going on the same way everybody tried to explain to me what's going on in Pulp Fiction. And because I think there's a need to try to explain things. And maybe I'm just not that bright. Very good chance that I'm not, but there was no real explanation about Pulp. There were 6 different movies embedded into one, and he tried to make you feel as if they're somehow tied together, and maybe they were the same way. I have no idea. I don't know why the market was down 3,000 Dow points last week, and I have no idea why it's rallied now. I think to your point, I think you make great points in terms of what the market should want. I have no idea what we're going to get, and I think the vacillation in the market over the last week and a half is suggestive of exactly that. I think the real thing to focus on, to your point, is the fact that the VIX still has a 35 handle. That to me is the most concerning thing out of everything. But you know what? If there's a concession speech tonight by either one of these guys, that VIX, which is 35, is going to be in the high 20s, probably like that, in my opinion.
So you know, and John Travolta was Vinnie Barbarino in Welcome Back, Kotter.
Sure, he was.
And I tell you what, if you get a higher, the expectation of higher capital gains, taxes on stocks, I think you're going to see a violent sell-off into Deck 31 when you think about all the gains that have been rallying. So I mean, Mr. Kotter, I think is not going to be welcome back in 2021. And in fact, by the way, I think Pulp Fiction totally resurrected John Travolta. I think John Travolta,
100%. He would admit that.
Yeah. Oh, he did.
Oh, he would absolutely. I mean, he was on the trash.
He's a huge fan of the show, by the way. I know he's. We hear from him.
Samuel Jackson. They watch it together, as it turns out. Oddly enough, and
over a Royale
with cheese.
Yeah.
And you mentioned great soundtracks, so you have to pick between these 2 soundtracks, and you have to pick one. Don't equivocate. The Big Chill or Forrest Gump. That's a great poll, right?
Forrest Gump. Wow,
nice job.
I mean, look, it's the same reason I respect Motown, and we've already talked about Marvin Gaye taking the top spot on Rolling Stone's top 500 rock albums of all time. But you know, Big Chill is great, Behringer, you know, and co. And I know you're not asking about the movie, but that Forrest Gump soundtrack, where it traverses from the 60s and those powerful ballads that define the, you know, flower power, all the way through to Bob Seger and into the Running Against the Wind, and then getting into the 80s. That Forrest Gump soundtrack, incredible, by the way, incredible movie. And so I'm a buyer of Forrest Gump.
I'm with you on the Forrest Gump soundtrack, tremendous. But you know, Big Chill came out, I think, my junior year in college, and that soundtrack was tremendous. What I'll tell you is, and I know you know this, Kevin Costner was actually in the Big Chill. He was their classmate that died. He was the guy in the coffin. Great point. Great point. See that? One of Kevin Costner's better roles.
I was going to say, because right now we're not running with wolves. We are running out of time. And sleep well tonight, my friend. Tomorrow's a new day.
Talk to you later.
Bye.